So you can actually track access to APIs and IAM as well, right? So CloudTrail will record access to API calls and save logs in your Amazon S3 bucket, no matter how those API calls were made, whether it is coming from management console, GUI, CLI, or via SDK, right? Doesn't matter who did what from what IP address. You may also receive notification of log file delivery using SNS. Now, what happens is, as I told you, CloudTrail keeps recording these API calls and writes it to log files. At some intervals, it delivers this log files to your S3 bucket. Now, if you want to just get notified automatically, you can set up SNS. You can hook up an SNS topic with your CloudTrail, and what would happen whenever it is delivering a file to the S3 bucket, you will get an SNS notification. Okay. Rapid integration of AWS services since launch with more supported services coming soon. Now, this is an important thing. Please understand, AWS currently has got more than 100 services. It might happen that some new service which has been launched would not support CloudTrail. So which means the API calls which are happening for that particular service would not get recorded by CloudTrail. But that would happen only for very few services which are new. For most of the other services, all the API calls get recorded by CloudTrail. Okay, and you may go ahead and basically record all the log files into one S3 bucket. So what I'm trying to say here, uh, see, CloudTrail again is actually a region level service, right? It's a regional service. Like what I'm trying to say here is you may choose to enable CloudTrail in North Virginia and you may choose not to enable it in Ohio. That's possible. But the good thing is if you have resources running in different regions and you go ahead and actually enable CloudTrail in multiple regions, you don't have to worry about keeping the logs at too many different places. You can just specify one S3 bucket in your account, and in that S3 bucket, the logs for all the regions will come and it will get placed there. There will be a naming convention with which you will be able to recognize that which file belongs to which region and so on, right? We will talk about that naming convention as well as we go forward. But that's a good feature because, the rate at which the number of regions are increasing or the rate at which your own company or organization might increase, you would never know that, okay, you would not want to get into this work of creating new S3 bucket for every region, right? You don't have to do that. So the point is you just go ahead and enable CloudTrail and all the files, all the CloudTrail log files get delivered to one S3 bucket. Another important thing is there are a lot of AWS partner organizations. So they have developed tools which can actually consume these CloudTrail logs and show you a lot of useful information in the form of graphics, visualizations, through which you can very easily consume that what's happening in your account, right? So some of the names you are able to see on the screen, uh, all these tools can very easily ingest the CloudTrail logs and can aggregate and show you data which can be really helpful for your organization, right? So those are some of the good things. What can you answer? We already talked about it briefly. Who made an API call? When was it made? Uh, what API call was it? Whether it was EC2 terminate, EC2 run instances, what it was, right? Which resources were acted upon in the API call? So as I told that in every API call, what parameters were passed, that is getting captured. So with that, you will be able to understand that on which particular resource this API call happened. So for example, if you have 20 EC2 instances, which EC2 instance was terminated? You will be able to see that because in the parameters, you will see the instance ID. Where was the API call made from and made to? From where the request came, right? Because IP address is also getting stored, so you can go ahead and see that as well. All right, so let's talk about CloudWatch logs and how does this help? Now, the good thing is that Of course, you can go ahead and choose to use some third-party tools, as we saw on the previous screen, and use that to actually ingest the CloudTrail logs and then do a lot of visualization and other things. In, in addition to that, within AWS, if you look at the different tools, you can use CloudWatch logs as well, right? So we have talked about CloudWatch in detail in a separate video. But what is CloudWatch logs? Using CloudWatch logs, you can ingest any logs. Now that log could be coming from, let's say, a Windows server, a Linux server, things like that. In the same way, it can ingest the logs coming from CloudTrail. And then you can go ahead and create your filters, right? Basically, you can create a type of string which you are trying to search for. And when that particular string is found, that is counted as one occurrence. And then based on that, you can go ahead and create alarms as well, right? So for example, if let's say I want to get alerted if 4 EC2 instances get terminated within 5 minutes or within 10 minutes, if 4 EC2 instances get terminated, I want to get alerted. So I can go ahead and create that type of, alarms, right? In the same way, there could be a serious action, which if it happens even once, I want to get alerted. For example, let's say if somebody deletes a subnet, right? Or let's say somebody deletes a NAT gateway, right? It's a serious thing, right? Of course, I mean, ideally talking, if you have done everything right, anybody and everybody should not have access to delete it, right? And that's where things like SCP and permission boundaries come into picture. I'll talk about SCP and permission boundary in separate IAM related tutorial where we'll talk about these things in more detail. But the point is there might be certain actions where which you do not want to happen. So you can go ahead and create a CloudWatch alarm in such a manner that even if that action happens once, you get alerted immediately, right? So you can go ahead and do such things. We are going to see that how can we push all our CloudTrail logs to CloudWatch logs, and then how can we go ahead and create an alarm there, right? For a certain event uh, about which we are concerned, right? So we'll go ahead and try to set it up, and we'll see how does it work. So as you can see, I'm there in my KI3 account, and the cloud, here I have created a trail already called KI trail. I'll go here and I'll be able to see that there is something called CloudWatch log section there. Configuring delivery to CloudWatch log enables you to receive SNS notifications from CloudWatch when a specific API activity occurs. A specific standard CloudWatch and CloudWatch log charges will apply. So understand whatever charges are there for CloudWatch that you'll have to pay, that part won't be free. If you want to understand that how does the pricing work in case of CloudWatch, I have a detailed video on that. I suggest you that you please watch that and understand, because there are many parts within CloudWatch, guys, and people many of the times do not realize that what is costing them. So please look at that video and understand it. So I'm now going to configure this trail to feed all the logs to CloudWatch logs. I'll say configure. You can go ahead and give it some name. If you want to use some existing one, you can do that, or you can just specify a new one. I'll specify a new one and I'll say continue. So once I do this, a new CloudWatch log group gets created. All right. So what is it saying here? AWS CloudTrail will deliver CloudTrail events associated with API activity in your account to your CloudWatch log groups. Great. In order to successfully deliver, CloudTrail will assume the role you are creating or specifying. Assuming the role grants CloudTrail permissions to CloudWatch logs API calls. Now, please understand, we have seen this in some other demos as well. Even when a service has to write somewhere, or when an AWS service has to interact with another AWS service, it needs necessary permissions. Some time back, we saw that when CloudTrail has to write to an S3 bucket, we are giving permissions on that S3 bucket via bucket policy. In the same way, now when CloudTrail has to write to CloudWatch logs, CloudTrail service needs to have some permission so that it can call the necessary CloudWatch related API and write the logs there, right? So for that purpose, this IAM role is getting created. You can go ahead and see the actions which will get allowed or which would be allowed as part of this role are logs create log stream, and there is another one logs put log event. So two things: it will create a log stream and it will keep putting the keep putting the log. So basically those two things you can just go ahead and say allow. Once you do this, it should get set. So let us see. The CloudWatch logs is getting activated. All right, so this is done. Now let us go ahead and try to, uh, you know, try to look at our CloudWatch logs. So I'll go to, so we'll go to CloudWatch console within North Virginia. And here, if we go to logs section, we should be able to see our log group, right, which got created. CloudTrail default log group, right? Good. So click on this and you will be able to see that you know uh, the logs are getting pushed here. So inside this, if you go, you'll be able to see different streams. So this is there for US East 1, and for of course we did this for the trail which is there in US East 1. So this is coming here. Please understand, CloudTrail, CloudWatch, all of these are regional services. If I want to do similar thing for another region, I should go to the respective trail in that region and I should create a log group again, right? Please get that clearly. Now, as you can see, if I expand this, you'll be able to see the complete logs are available here, right? Now, what we want to do next is that we want to go ahead and basically create an alarm here, and the alarm would be for a particular API call, and we can choose what API call we want. So let's say in order to show this demo, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and choose terminate instance. So think that this account is kind of production account, and we want to ensure that if any EC2 instance gets terminated or somebody terminates it, surely people should be informed about it. So what we'll do is we'll create an alarm which gets triggered when an EC2 instance gets terminated, and this alarm will notify some particular email, and we'll see that whether we receive that email or not, right? So this is what we'll go ahead and set up. Right, so the next step what we need to do is we'll go ahead and create a metric filter. So in this metric filter, what we have to specify is that basically what is that pattern which we are looking for in this log, right? So as I told you, we are looking for terminate instances. So we'll go ahead and specify that filter pattern. How can we do that? Here are some examples given. Let's let me explain you how to do that. If you look at this particular value, value which is given in this log, you can see there would be something called event name. So event name is basically the API call, which has happened. So for example, get bucket encryption, list buckets and things like that. So we can go ahead and say event name should be equal to terminate instances. So I hope you know that EC2 terminate instances is the action which will terminate an EC2 instance. So that's what I'm specifying here. But okay, before I do that, let me just show you how does it work. For example, if I specify list buckets here, list buckets, and then we can go ahead and test this pattern. We'll say test pattern. It will say, it is saying that 9 matches found out of 50 events. So there are 50 events here. Out of that, 9 matches happened. Great. So what we have written is fine. I will go ahead and put as terminate instances. Currently, we will not find any result because of course no instance has been terminated. But whatever we have written is okay. So we'll go ahead and say assign metric. Now here we need to go ahead and give some name for this metric. So let's say I'll name this metric as uh, termination count. Okay, and I'll go ahead and say create filter. So with this, one metric gets created. Okay, and you can see that particular metric is um, if we come here, you'll be able to say this. Click on this metrics, and you will be able to see that. So if we go to all metrics, go to log metrics, give it some time to refresh. All right, so you saw that we created a metric. Now, one other important thing to remember here is that when you create a particular metric, uh, it might not start showing up here immediately unless until uh, an event happens which matches that particular filter. So because we created it for terminate instances and terminate instances had not happened, so that's why it was not appearing here in the metrics section. So what I did is that I paused the video and I actually went ahead, launched an instance quickly and terminated it. And once that happened and the necessary CloudTrail log reached CloudWatch logs, then a necessary filter event became true, and post that for the for our metric which we had created, which is basically termination count, it started appearing here. So if I go ahead and select this, you'll be able to see that there is one occurrence which has happened, right? So now we'll go ahead and say select metric, and we will go ahead and select our metric, which is termination count. Okay, and when we do that, you can go ahead and even select the period, that what should be the period of checking, right? So when you create a CloudWatch alarm, you basically say that the number of occurrences should be counted in the periods of what size. So that period could be 5 minutes, 1 minute, and things like that. So let me make it 1 minute, right? So I'll go ahead and say select metric. So this metric I've selected. Now I want to specify some condition. So I would say if this happens for one time or more than once in one of the data points, right? So basically, if I do this, what it is saying is if the termination count is greater than or equal to 1 for one data points within 1 minute, right? So what is data points? Data points are defined by the period set for a metric. So if you remember, just in the previous step, I went ahead and changed it from 5 minutes to 1 minute, right? So for a 1 minute period, there is one data point every minute, which will be collected. If you want the alarm to trigger on fluctuating data, set a smaller first number. Make this smaller than this one. But I mean, for most of the scenarios, depending on how granularly do you want to monitor, based on that you can specify the period. So I want to do it on per minute basis. That's why I changed it to 1 minute. Now I am saying if in 1 minute the termination count is one or more than one, then alert me, because I want to show you this demo quickly. Now you in your actual scenario, you may choose something else. You may say that, let's say, if there are 10 terminations happening within 30 minutes, right? Or things like that. So you can basically tweak this part as you like. So we'll just give some name for this alarm, test alarm. Um, Let me call it terminate alarm. That would be better. Any additional settings? Treat missing data as missing. For now, I will just go ahead and specify the SNS topic to which it should send a notification, and we'll say create alarm. So once we do this, we are good. Our alarm has been created. Currently, it is insufficient because when an alarm gets created For some time it will show as insufficient data. After that it will become red or green accordingly. So we will also have to go and do one thing. We need to go to SNS and basically subscribe to the SNS topic which is there, so that when alarm happens we get an email about it, right? So we'll go to our topics and we should see our topic KISNS here. We'll go here and we'll say actions and we'll say subscribe to this topic, right? And we want to subscribe via email. Let's choose email JSON. We'll go ahead and specify our email address. All right, we'll say create subscription. Once we do this, we'll be able to see, if we click here, we'll be able to see that a subscription has been created, but it is pending confirmation. So we need to go and confirm it by clicking the link in our email. I will go ahead and do that. I have received this email. I'll click here to confirm the subscription. So this has basically got confirmed. I'll minimize this, come and refresh here. As you can see, now this is done. It is not pending anymore. Good. So now what we'll do is we will go ahead and we will try to um, um, create an EC2 instance, and then we'll try to terminate it. So we'll go here. We'll just say launch instance. Quickly select this T2 micro so that it is free. We'll just say review and launch, because we doesn't matter that what values you are choosing. So we'll just launch this instance. Yep. So once this instance is launched, we can go ahead and terminate it as well, because I want to show you that how does this work. So that's why I'm doing it quickly. But in real scenario, let's say any instance is running and somebody goes and terminates it, right? That's what we are trying to show as part of this demo. So we'll go ahead and select this and we will say terminate. So when we do this, basically because of this, now EC2 terminate instances API got called. That would get recorded by CloudTrail, and CloudTrail will publish it or will push it further to CloudWatch logs. Now please understand there will be a delay of few seconds to minutes actually before the CloudTrail actually pushes it to CloudWatch logs. So don't think that as soon as it got terminated here, immediately you will get the alarm. No, that's not the case. It will take few seconds to minutes, so we'll have to wait for that time. So let us go here and try to see our alarms. What's the status? Still it is showing insufficient data, so we'll wait for some time. All right, guys, so as you can see, after waiting for some time, uh, the logs got pushed, of course, to CloudWatch logs, and the alarm status changed. Now that it has changed, it has sent an email as well, which we can see here. So I have received this email now, and it says reason is that it has crossed this particular threshold point. What has happened is that an instance has been terminated. That's for that purpose we had created this particular alarm. All right, so that's what it is, right? Uh, so uh, that's the idea. So you can go ahead and basically set this up. When you are doing this for your organization, you will probably think about the values, and you will do you will specify while creating the alarm that, let's say, if X number of such occurrences happen in a given duration, then go ahead and send an alert. You might not specify just one. This is for the demo purpose. I have a specified value as one so that we can show you the demo quickly, right? All right, I hope you understand this particular part of sending the CloudTrail logs to the CloudWatch logs and then setting up alarms there. See you in next video.